You know, it's funny when I think of my own worlds because I really don't have that much in the way of personality for the worlds I create. The personality is for the people. There was this interesting little thing where it was said that men are usually more interested in things than people, and people are usually more interested, or women are usually more interested in people than things. That it gives me a very feminine mind, I guess, because I'm way more interested in people than I am things. And as a result of that, when I write my stories, the people are where all my focus is. Everything else is secondary. The prose is something I worry about during my second and third draft. The plot is just what the people are doing. I'm interested in how the people act, how the people think, what the people do. It would be very difficult for me to write something like a Harry Potter style world, because J.K. Rowling creates this whole physics around the world. You know, spells work this way, fashion works this way, people's attitudes work this way. And that, for me, is a big, big challenge. I just do not have... Maybe it's that I just don't have interest in those things. So, any weakness in my own stories could be the fact that you'll get a very good picture in your head for the people, but you'll probably will not get a good picture in your head for where they're standing. I'm not going to tell you about the leaves on the tree. I'm not going to tell you about the fashion this year and how this type of tunic was all the blah, 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 blah. I just don't care. It's the uninteresting part. I want to know about the people. I want to know about Selena, who is more than just a bit of a tomboy, who's extremely rebellious and wants to go out into the world and have adventures, but has been told she can't because she's a girl. And then when she does start to have her adventures, she discovers that, oh, this being a girl thing isn't so bad. It wasn't the girl part that was the bad. It was just the obstacles that were in front of her that she was concerned about. And when she has the ability to start having her adventures, the whole being a girl thing is, it's not a big deal anymore. I feel that a lot of people focus way too much on whether a character is a boy or a girl or male or female. It's like, okay, you are what you are. The question is, how do you achieve what you want to achieve? Do you have to change yourself to achieve what you want to achieve? The answer is going to almost always be yes. You do have to change yourself. That's what these coming-of-age stories are about, the change. What do you change in order to make yourself better? What do you change to get closer to your goals? If you have to completely change your body to get closer to your goals, okay, what did you have to change? And in what way do you have to change it? This is always really easy to talk about when you're just, thinking about it. You're just like, oh, I could change this and I could change that and this would be fine. But if the change you're going to put into your body is, I'm going to become stronger, I'm going to become faster, I'm going to become smarter, those are noble goals, and you should do those things. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. I work out several days a week, almost every day, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. The body is just like, nah, I'm comfy being this way. And it's like, no, you got to push past that. And if you want to learn something, you have to make the effort to learn it. You have to make the effort to find the knowledge, to sift through it, to focus on it, to concentrate on it, to write about it, to think about it, to meander about it, to ponder about it. Changing yourself into something greater is difficult. It doesn't feel good. And the idea that there's an easy way through, no. There are smarter ways to do a thing, but there are no shortcuts. There aren't any real shortcuts. Now, I will say the internet is a fantastic shortcut. It's a fantastic tool. But in the end, you're still the one that has to click on the YouTube video and go to the class. you're still the one that has to force yourself to focus on what you're watching. I'm very ADHD. I've been that way my whole life. If something interests me, I hyper-focus on it like crazy and I learn about it. If, on the other hand, I'm just not that interested in it, it is super difficult for me to learn it. At work, I'm like that. I do a mundane 9-to-5 job, and I work in a cubicle. I despise my 9-to-5 job. I absolutely do not like it. Now, it's the best version of the worst job I could ever have. I like the people that I work with. I am competent at my job. I go out of my way. I have gone out of my way to learn the culture of the office that I am in, to learn about the people, to learn about how they function, how they tick. How does the world look to them? And every single one of these people ends up in my book at one point or another. There was this marvelous collection of people, these two people that I encountered at one of my jobs that is absolutely going into my books at some point. Their names were Kendra and Kendrick, and they could not have been more opposite. Kendrick was this big black dude. He's very jovial, and he's very glad to see you, and he can't wait to go. This is how he talks. And hey, how's it going, Paul? It's good to see you. And Kendrick was great. He's one of my favorite people that worked there. And then there was Kendra, who was this tiny little white girl with a scowl for everything. She hated everyone. She could just look at you and you'd just be like, oh God, I feel like you're trying to make me emulate, burst into flames. There we go, that word. And she was so mean that it was kind of hilarious. But their names are so similar. And I jotted down a little short story blurb where, Kendrick, who basically went into my book world almost exactly, I got his permission and everything. I said, is it okay if I make a character based off of you? And he's like, well, I don't know. Or I said, can I make a character can I base a character in my book off of you because you're a character and I think that's fantastic. And he's like, well, thank you, Paul. It's the nicest thing anybody's ever seen of me. Wow, I can't talk today. Thank you, Paul. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. And so I started the process of making a character for him. And I actually made him like an agent of the crown. I made him a James Bond type character. And in one of his James Bond little stories, I wrote up a bit where he meets this little street urchin girl. And, he's black, she's white. He basically adopts her. And there was going to be a joke where at some point he's trying to go somewhere and she comes in and, they're like, who the hell are you? And she's like, I'm his daughter. And they all look at, the black man and he just shrugs and goes, she takes after her mother. And so I wrote this down. And I wrote this down 10 years ago. It's still in a folder. I still have that little blurb. Kendrick has made it into a couple bits of my story already. I've already introduced him. He'll be in the third book, the third Little Red Wolf book. Kendra, not yet. I don't know how I'm going to put her in the book, but that's a real life event. This is a real thing that happened to me that I looked at that and went, this is happening. This is going into my story. And the reason for that is I love people. People are endlessly fascinating. A dearly departed friend of mine got me a shirt once that said, be careful, or you'll end up in my novel. And it's absolutely true. She's ended up in about 5 of my books already. And now that she's gone, I plan to get her into some more. So that's the way of the world. People. It's all about the people, folks. Now, you can have a different opinion, and that's fine. But for me, it's all about the people.